God bless everybody today. Today is July 17th of 2021 and it is high noon, 12 p.m. Central Time. I've been watching this Bitcoin bleed out since I started charting this around May 17th when Elon Musk basically shot an arrow into Bitcoin and removed Bitcoin from Tesla so that they wouldn't accept it. That started this chain of events, which is running, well, 2 months at this point. And so I want to bring us up to speed on where we are, which I believe we just went through ST and Phase B. I'll show you these dates and things as we move forward. We just came up to this point here, which I've charted. And we just came down yesterday to this point here, which I believe will be the low point before we come back up to the start of the bottom of this first resistance line, which is around 40 to 42,000. So as we look at this chart, we start to see that Wyckoff seems to be right, and that all of these numbers that I've charted out and I've dated down here when these occurred, I've added the two newest ones on the bottom here so I can show you when these really occurred. You can chart them out. I believe we are starting to move back up to this top resistance line. So we're in this gap here between this point here of 31,050 to this top support line, which is around 42,500 or so, 42,500. It's interesting, this is falling directly within the parameters that it should. So let me bring this up and I'll sort of show you what I'm talking about. So if we go into Bitcoin's chart and we look at this chart, okay, I saw that we had gone to ST and Phase B. Now this chart hasn't changed. When I started this chart on May 17th, I have not adjusted this chart. All these numbers are exactly the same as when I made the first video on May 17th or whenever it was I made that first video. This is like the 10th, 12th video I've done on this to try to keep everybody updated on what's going on here. I had realized that when we hit this ST in Phase B, which was on, now you have to go back in history and look at the resistance and support points in the past to see the memory of the stock or the cryptocurrency. So a lot of these points, like ST and Phase B, I went back to the chart. You have to go back, look at the upper and lower points and chart them out, and that's where I came up with a lot of these numbers. Okay, but then it actually started to reflect these numbers in real time and move us forward. And so what I'm saying is, when we hit this ST in Phase B back on January 21st, I knew that we would again hit a similar point here, which was this point. Let me move that out a second. Which was on June 22nd at 8:55. It hit 28,116.6. So that's why this number's here. Now this was the bottom limit of this ST in Phase B, which was recorded in the past, and so that's where I got that number here, okay, on January 21st. So I knew when we came down from this top resistance line, I said that the top resistance line was 45,000. We went to 41,341.8. Okay. Then we came down to 28,816.6. Then we came back up on June 29th at 11 a.m. to 36,643.2, and that falls within these parameters of these, these gaps. And that's what we're looking at. Is this falling within the gaps? Is it falling within the ranges? And then we just came down to $31,050 on July 16th at 7 a.m. So I believe we just went to this point and that we will start to move up. Now, I do not see any wave action between, and what I mean is this is a wave, it's harmonics. So I do not see any wave action like here. You see these points between this point and where we're heading. So I think this will go up fairly quickly within the next few weeks, and that we will start to see this push up from 31,000 to around 40 to 42,500, come back down. Now realize that this resistance line is rounded in this point here, so it could come back down to about 36,000 or 35,000 potentially, because that falls within the resistance lines of this gap here. And then it will come back up one more time before we start to see this actually really fade out. Okay, so that's what I mean by, if you look at this chart, it's following almost exactly what it says it's going to do. So if we hit this 31,050 point, I believe we're going to start moving up in the next couple weeks. This is going to hit the top or the bottom of the resistance line here, come back down, and then it's going to punch through just for a minute, and then we're going to start to see this movement of lateralization all the way down to the spring, which I believe could occur between August 12th and September 8th. Now, why am I moving this date out? Because the apex moves out depending on the manipulation. I'll sort of show you what I'm talking about. I have adjusted these numbers down, so Dogecoin's chart also, because I believe this will be much more extreme at the bottom potentially than what I originally thought the spring would be, which would be around 20,000. I believe it could potentially go to 15, 10, or even 5,000, which would then put me in line with Dogecoin at potentially 1 cent or even 0.001, which I believe I either saw in a dream or in that video I can't find. I keep talking about. So if you saw a video with Elon Musk standing against a car, he's facing the left, he's got the car open, he's standing there, and somebody from the side that's taping this asks Elon. Now I can't find this video, so I don't know if it was a dream or not. Asks Elon what he wants for the common person for Dogecoin, and it's weird. He sort of stared out into space, and then he turned directly to the camera, stepped away from the car, directly turned to the camera and said, I would like to see the average guy be able to buy in at basically 0.001% so we all can become rich and millionaires. I cannot find this video, so I don't know if it's a dream or whatever. So I've said that potentially this could go all the way down to 0.001 due to that. I don't know if it will tank that far, The chart has always indicated when I first put this together it was going to go down to about 0.08 cents, but we'll see. So before we go to Doge, I wanted to show you where I got these numbers on Bitcoin. So you can see that this is where I got ST in phase B. This is Kraken site, so if you want to go out to Kraken, it's on a 4-hour chart. I'm trying to show you this the best way on the best time setting so you can see what I'm talking about. So if this was ST in phase B, we then moved up to this next point, which was 36,643.2. Okay. And then if we move the chart forward, you hit that bottom number of 31,050. Okay. And now we're starting to move back up. And potentially we're going to break out of this apex. Okay. So if that's the case, Bitcoin could potentially shoot, this is 40,000 up here. Okay, so will it parabolically move up? The chart indicates that there's not a lot of lateralization or movement sideways, and that it's basically just a straight line up. I'll show you that on the chart real quick before we go back to, or go to Dogecoin. So this is where I got these numbers. Okay, so this is your 28,816.6 on the chart. This is your ST in phase B. Then we moved up to 36,643.2. Then we came down to 31,050 or 31,050.0, which was yesterday morning. Okay, and so now I do not see this lateral movement. I'm not seeing any of these, this wave action here between here and here. So I believe this will go up fairly quickly to about 42,000. So that's why I'm saying that. So realize Bitcoin is always the main monster in the room. It controls the playing field, but it does affect Doge, and it is following the same similar pattern here as we're seeing on Bitcoin. So I want to show you what I see in Doge. The same chart indicators are going to be used in here. So let's go in here and we'll sort of show you what I'm talking about. So I had originally set Dogecoin's upper limit was 45 cents at 45.03662. It went to 44.9, and that was on June 2nd. And then it came all the way down, and I said the bottom limit was 16 cents. It came down to 16.3004, which was on June 22nd. Then it came back up to 0.2893677. That was June 24th. And then it came all the way down to this point here, which I do not have indicated on this chart. So let me add that. And so I added this number. I'm sorry, I didn't have it on here. So we then went from 0.2893677 to 0.1691390 yesterday at 1900 hours. And so I believe now we're moving from this point up to around 40 to 42.5 cents in the next few weeks. And so it's going to do that, and then it's going to bounce back down. Now realize that this point here is about the same height. So will we go back from about 42.5 cents to about 29 cents, and then pop back up into the top here, and we hit 44.9 at this point back here. So that's why I got this question mark here. I don't know exactly where I believe it's going to hit, but I believe it could hit around 40, potentially up to 44 cents before we start to move out of phase B, hit lateral action for a while, and then go down to the spring. And this could happen between August 12th and September 18th. Now, I've said for a while, I believe it will go to at least 8 cents. It could go down to as low as 0.001 based on the Dreamer video that I saw. So I don't know how that will play out. Let's go to Doge's chart and I'll show you how that's looking. So this is your ST in phase B, which was 16.3, 0.1630004. That was your 16 cent. I said it would go down to about 16 cents. That was my lower limit. It then came back up to 0.2893677. And then if you move this chart forward, we finally hit that lower point of 0.1691390. And now I believe that we will end up going up to around 40 cents up into here, okay? Now, there doesn't show a lot of lateral action. I do not know, I can't give you a guarantee on time. I believe it'll take a week or two for this to push back up to about 40 cents. Then it's going to come down to approximately 28, 29 cents again, so it could come back down, and then it's going to push back up to about 42 to 44 cents, and then we're going to hit that spring. Okay, and that you can see that on this chart that I built. So if you go to Doge's chart, here's your ST in phase B lowest limit. This is where we hit at 1.1630004. We came back up to 0.2893677. We finally came back to the down towards the lower support line again. That was at 0.1691390, which happened yesterday morning. And now I believe we are moving back up to this top resist, or the bottom of the top two resistance lines, going to bounce down and then come back up. So that would be around 42.5, 40 cents, somewhere in there. It's going to come back down. It would hit a point around in this area, around 28, 29 cents, and then it would push back up to potentially even 44 cents because it hit this point back here, which could be a similar point here. That's why I have a question mark here. I don't know where it's going to end up, but I believe it will end up somewhere in this range where it came before. So it's going to hit around 40, 42 cents, 42.5 cents. Going to come back down to about 29 to 28 cents. It's going to push back up to maybe 44 cents. Now, this will all dictate off of what Bitcoin is doing, okay? Bitcoin is running the show, but it seems like it's pushing Doge's limits to the maximum. Look at that. That was my top resistance point, and look where it hit. This was my bottom resistance point, and this is where it hit. It's falling within these resistance points on the charts. And so now this one moved down radically, almost back to phase ST and phase B. So that's what I say. I believe that this could get really ugly when we finally hit the spring, because he's manipulating, the composite man or the institution is manipulating this to the extreme. And there was no fear here. And for them to build fear and get all these people to buy in all the way up to here just to dump it back down, they want fear. And so they're going to dump it through, I believe, this bottom support line, and it's going to really get ugly at the end. I just wanted to keep updated. I believe this is still occurring. I believe Wyckoff is in play. I believe that if you look at this chart It started in May 17th and is moving. Now this could extend out. I keep moving these dates out, but it's just what it is. And if you go to Doge's chart, I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so why the variation of time in when I believe this could potentially hit the spring? Because every time they manipulate these resistance lines up or move the support lines down, it extends the apexes out. So if you drop this, if this starts to tank and it pushes the support line down, it moves it out. Okay? Just as if it really spikes up or parabolically comes up through the resistance lines down here, it's going to raise these resistance lines. Now, right as of now, the upper and lower resistance lines end up around May or September 4th or 5th. So if you come in here, you look at where this top resistance line and the bottom resistance line all apex out, it's around September 6th right now. And that's why I've got it set up for September 8th as being potentially the spring, because I can't necessarily determine if they move the support lines up, the resistance lines up, or the support lines down. This will then expand this out. And what I mean by that is, okay, so if I bring this support line, actually this support line, and I move it down like this, because over here this is adjusted down, then realize that it changes where this ends up. In this case, it could go out to September 18th if it moves that down, and it could potentially move one of these supports up or these resistances up, which would then expand it out further. And so that's what I mean, is there's no guarantee on time. It's within the next month or two that this is going to play out. Okay, I say around 4 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks at the most, and that's terrible timing because we move into flu season and a number of things. We have a crash in the market that would be really ugly. And so this is where I'm getting the time frames. If you recorrect the chart, you put it back to where I have it. The lower limit or the lower support line furthest point out is this line here. The furthest resistance line support or resistance line is here, and so if you bring these 2 points to the apex, it's around September 6th. This could actually start to end up at the total bottom. Now, if we go out, and this is one thing we have to look at, and this is something I try to get into, unless this really dumps back here and this moves out to the top support line to, let's say, 25,000, this could really expand out over weeks. But I don't think he's going to do that. I think the composite man is going to push this in the next month or two and get this to where we're starting to move back up out of the spring in phase C into phase D and E, which would then recorrect us back up, and we would move in Bitcoin case, it would have to move over 45,000. That's your top resistance line, and if it breaks through that, then that would be what I consider a major correction at that point, and we'll be moving up at that point. Until Bitcoin hits 45,000 or higher, you're really not in correction mode. So at that point, we need to look at where Bitcoin ends up, and whether it's going to move up from this lower limit of 31,600 to around 42,000 to that through that upper resistance line of 45,000, and then it would be a correction at that point. Also, if you go to Dogecoin, we're already starting to see Doge move up. It's gone from about 16 cents to 18 cents, so it is in the process of moving up. I believe that we could potentially see that go to 40 to 42.5 cents, come back down to about 28, 29 cents, and then move back up to potentially 44 to 45 cents before it drops through to the spring in phase C. So let's see how this all turns out. I'm going to end this video. God bless everybody. Next couple months are going to be crucial as we work into flu season, and we potentially watch a market meltdown, as we are starting to see now that the Fed can't control inflation, and their numbers were about twice inflated over what they thought they would be, and so the Fed is going to have to either start to taper or adjust rates, or they really don't have a lot of tools to fight this kind of inflation, so they're going to basically lie to us until they've got this under control. And the more you see the Fed, the more you should worry, because they don't come out unless there's a problem, and they're constantly on the TV right now. So why is the Fed coming out so much right now? Because they're trying to wade off this nightmare coming up in the next 6 months. And I also have indicated that we potentially could see that Iran-Turkish war once the Kurds align with them by the end of this year, and that would geopolitically change the whole structure of what we're seeing out here. So God bless everybody. Find the only open door, that's Jesus. It's a narrow, thin door, so we need to figure this one out. We need to get people to the Son. He's the only door to heaven, and so keep up the faith. I believe this is going to play out in the next few weeks. We'll see what happens. God bless everybody.